Hello, folks. How is it going tonight? Here we are once again, Wednesday, that time of the week. And we see that everyone is, in fact, dropping in. I see Suki's in the house, Beer Barrel, Ohio Relic Hunter, Craig M. Striker, Swansea's up in Cool Beans. Shout out to Harv. Looks like we've got quite a number of them dropping in, which is always great to see, definitely. And, there's going to be others on the way, I'm sure. Should be interesting to see. Good show tonight. We don't know where the Dirt Bandit is. That's the thing about this. You always got to keep them guessing, keep them on their toes. Maybe he'll be joining us. Hopefully. But we'll see what happens. Last week, Trooper Bry. Great guest, good time, and he had a blast with it. We had a little bit of laughs, a little bit of mystery, which we'll make sure that the mystery doesn't return in the sense of last week. So that's fine. That shouldn't be a problem at all. Hopefully the audio is strong tonight. There was a little bit of an echo with the broadcaster last week. Hopefully we've got that resolved as well. And also for those who follow the Beyond Sight and Sound domain, we are going through some changes right now on the domain, trying to streamline the page to make it more mobile friendly for those who are accessing it through their smartphone. Can't really give a whole lot of information out yet, but keep an eye on the page. There's going to be a new tab showing up. Another little project going on. Great idea, great project, and we should see a lot of nice things come to light from it, and you will be hearing more as we get closer to these goings-ons, we'll say. And it could even be as soon as maybe even Friday, you may see a post over on Detect America, or maybe even hear a little bit of mention of it on their show, because there is a bit of a conjoined effort coming up that we're trying to assist with. So now that we've got all that out of the way, and for people who are into the metal detecting forums, haven't mentioned any in a while, but shout out tonight to Treasure Quest forums on the internet, treasurequestxltforums.com. Great place, great group of guys to hang out with. A lot of good posts, stories, and information on there. And I see First Capital Dig, I thought I saw that name pop up in the chat. We'll see. I'm sure he'll be around if he wasn't. And if he shows up, well, welcome to him too. But for the listeners, you are in fact here. We are back. You are listening to Beyond Sight and Sound, Metal Detecting and Treasure Hunting Radio for you, the always valued and appreciated listener. I am your host, Josh Kimmel. Dirt Bandit may or may not be here, but the important part is the topic at hand tonight. Where is treasure? Where do you find treasure? Maybe it's all perception. Maybe research gets you there. But even with the research, you still got to put in effort. Definitely have to put in effort. Is there a mantra? A chant? A ritualistic dance? A complex equation? No, I don't think so. I think we'll find out that the answer really is very, very simple. And I think that we have just had the Dirt Bandit arrive. How's
Yes,
it going, Kenny?
it's going, at least. Well, everything but the laptop and, I don't know what it is. The Wednesday night curse for me lately. I'm getting a grip on it. I'm here, so I'm on the phone while I'm trying to work on it. But let's roll. Got a great guest tonight.
Well then, as the listeners can hear, the Dirt Bandit has arrived. So I think we're ready to roll. We got the Dirt Bandit on my left, and on my right, the very knowledgeable, always a blast to have on this show, great guy, Leighton Harrington. How is it going, Leighton? Oh, where'd he go?
Well, I don't know.
I don't know.
It is Wednesday night. That's been for me lately.
I think maybe Leighton might have froze up. We'll see what's going on there with him. And while he's trying to get back to us, we'll just keep rolling. And when he gets in, looks like he's having maybe a little bit of an audio issue, then we'll get him on there.
And, you know, if they find one of these shows that's absolutely perfect, everybody would be on it.
Right, exactly. Well, and that's the thing. You got to stay on your toes. Definitely have to stay on your toes. But he's, it looks like, because I do have a video feed of him, many people don't realize when we do go live, he's trying to deal with his audio right now. So we'll see what happens there, and while we're waiting on that, why don't you catch us up to speed there? What has the Dirt Bandit been up to?
There's a show once upon a time called Family Matters, and that's about it. Just dealing with some stuff, and I don't know if those have been following Lynette's situation, her mother Barbara. Out of nowhere, she loses her husband Ed, Barbara's husband, so we've had to deal with that. Lynette, bless her heart, is up there and doesn't have much help right at the moment. So
Right.
everybody gets thoughts and prayers to her. We're trying to get her some more assistance for her mother. But I mean, it's been like just boom, 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 one thing after another. But yes, we'll pass. We'll get through it. And believe it or not, sooner or later, I will have a video out. But family comes first. Got to take care of business.
Right. Yeah, and that's entirely understandable. And it has been very unfortunate that these things have happened, but we have been keeping the Dirt Bandit and his family in our thoughts, and definitely keeping some support there as well.
Much appreciated.
So, definitely a good thing there. And is there any plans on a trip back to Missouri?
Well, sooner or later, obviously, depending on if we can get her, enough help. She can't do it by herself. John's working, her husband. We're trying to toss some things around. If nothing else, I may send Krista up there. I got the boys in school here. Also have this is a money-making time of year for me as far as the gin thing goes. Now, obviously, if I need it up there, I'll go. But,
Right.
I don't know yet. I don't know how to answer that. We're taking one day at a time, and, which is unlike me. I'm kind of a planner. It drives her crazy, but, right now we're just going day by day and, thanking God we get another one after it.
Right, exactly, because you guys have had more than your fair share of hurdles lately, so to speak.
Yeah, it's been trials, but you know what? That's all right. I've had plenty of days where I have dark buckles, buttons, bullets. Sometimes, you know, you just got to handle the other parts of life, and it makes you appreciate your hobby a lot better, that's for sure. Because I know when I fire my videos up and my bass and Garrett and all of that, and I get out there, the first half hour is going to be sitting there, you know, being thankful I'm there instead of dealing with the other stuff.
Right, exactly. And for those who follow the Dirt Bandit or even Beyond Sight and Sound, they know that you haven't been out in a while, but that's not from lack of ambition or anything like that. You've just had plenty going on.
It's been, I think my last video was posted 4 months ago, which has really never happened. I've had several messages and private messages, but pretty much everybody understands. I've dug since then, and I do have video, some video that I had in Missouri that I haven't yet posted just because it seems like it's too caught up in everything else as a priority. So, but things have turned. We're going to try to get Lynette some help, and just as soon as the time comes, I will be out there swinging as usual.
Right. Well, at least you are planning to get back to the field soon. That's always a plus, definitely.
Okay, I think I'm back, guys. Sorry about that.
And we do have Leighton back, and his audio has reappeared.
Yes.
So there's our little mystery hurdle for the show.
I think I heard Kenny say before I left something about the Wednesday night curse. Thanks a lot, buddy. We lost power halfway through it.
Man, I tell you what, it's either been tornadoes, storms, family stuff. I had lightning here. I don't know. We had power out last week. The phone didn't even work for some reason. The cell phone wouldn't even work. And then lightning dust strike twice in one spot, because the week before that, it blew my modem into several pieces. And I just couldn't believe it. Chris and I were both sitting here and pieces were flying. I was like, guess I better call Josh.
Well, you're making me feel pretty good, so I appreciate you hanging in there with me.
Right.
So anyway,
and Trooper Bry's in too.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. That's what I was saying, I guess, before the power kind of went out on me. I'm not sure if you guys actually caught that, but thanks for having me back, and I appreciate it. So, hey, let's get with it.
Yeah, I mean, always a pleasure to have you on the show. You know, you're welcome anytime, more than welcome.
Thanks. That's really good to hear. I appreciate the kudos there for sure.
Well, you know, 43 years in the hobby you've got, and that's a lot of trial and effort in the field to, you know, find out where treasure is.
Yeah, absolutely. You might be, you know, more surprised at the answer. Before the end of the show, we'll certainly, well, it won't take much to figure out exactly where the treasure is. But you know, with trial and error, a lot of planning, that will certainly get you to the spot. But before the show is over, we'll definitely give you the answer as to where the treasure is.
Right. And we'll be able to have a good time with it, and just figured it'd be something a little different, kind of mix things up a little bit. Looks like we've got Digging Freedom. Oh, never mind. Not Digging Freedom. We've got Detect America in the house.
Ah, very good. Welcome aboard.
Yeah.
All right.
Always good to have them guys in there.
Right. So we figured it'd be something a little different, mix things up a little bit, and everybody can have a little bit of a good time with it. Actually, for the listeners, Leighton and I had spoke before we went live. We may have a couple of items to give away to random callers.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Sounds like a good, fun little, maybe, you know what, let's make it easy. Not even a trivia or anything like that. Maybe just a call-in type of winning aspect. How's that sound?
There you go. And it looks like we've
Whatever
got a
works.
caller. Go ahead, caller. Who do we have?
Hey, Josh, how are you? This is Craig Stryker from Illinois.
Hello, sir.
Oh,
How are you, sir?
All right.
Mr. Leighton, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How you doing tonight, Craig?
Totally awesome. I've been called a lot of things, but I've never been called a random caller, but I'll take that in the pilot's dogwood.
Not necessarily in that order, right?
Oh, no, I'll take that insult anytime.
There you go. That's not such a bad thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it could be much worse.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I mean, if you want to have a show on there, I'm sure we can chop up 2 hours and just go with the name calling and the insults, and I bet you we can fill 2 hours easy.
Oh, I'm sure there's people that would definitely get in that we could run a marathon on.
Exactly.
But that's the way it goes.
Well,
So tell me, Craig, where is your treasure? Where do you find treasure? Tell me that.
Mhm.
Maybe you should be asking me the question, but I'm just curious. Where do you find your treasure? Tell me.
me?
Yeah.
Oh, under the coil, usually in the ground.
Ah, good answer.
Well, that's a good spot for it, definitely.
Good answer.
Yeah, I just stop at every beat. But no, I mostly do parks, historic sites. You know, I'll get permission to do them.
Yeah.
I don't find the good stuff like Swansea does. You know, the colonial coins. You know, I mean, my God, I talked to Josh about that. I'll trade that type anytime. So
Well, you know, up here in New England, Craig, I'm not too far from Swansea.
that's where I'm
We
from
do-
originally.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. So you know, I'm not telling you anything new. We certainly got it all here on the East Coast. You know, from treasure ships to colonial coins, pilgrim times. I've gotten some colonial cufflinks over the past few years. So yeah, we've got it all up here. We really are lucky. And when the storm comes through, you know, not that we wish any bad luck to anybody that owns any property on the beach, but we really love it because that certainly does create an area for all us avid hunters.
Yeah, I got plans for the wife and I to move back, hopefully before winter sets in. And I got to go up there. I've been talking to Swansea on and off for a year. I feel like I've known him for 5 years, but
Right.
I haven't met the ugly shit yet. So, you know, I can't wait.
Well, when you get back here, if you do it this year, you may want to wait another year. I heard this year through the Farmer's Almanac, it's supposed to be really bad.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I guess it's going to be so bad. I mean, you guys are going to be able to make your own snowmen without any effort.
I don't even stuff. I don't even want to hear that stuff. But yeah, that's a great answer. You know, under your coil. You know, I tell people, they always ask me where do I find treasure, and you know that's my number one answer. It's always under your coil. It's where it's never
where
over
I
there.
look.
Yeah, it's not, you know, it's not across the pasture. It's not over in the other field. It's not down around the brook. It's always under my feet. So, you know, maybe I'm a little premature in giving the answer away, but, you know, honestly, that's where the treasure is. It's under your coil. It always is.
Well, the other thing I tell them is treasure's where you find it.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
You know, because somebody's, you know, excuse the expression, piece of crap or this might be someone else's, oh my God, I would have killed to find one of those type things. So, you know, usually I'll say treasure if you find it.
Right.
And you know something else too, Craig and Kenny, I know you can attest to this too, and Josh and all our listeners here tonight. You know, we're all looking for the same thing, but I don't think there's one thing that someone can actually point out to me, you know, that they can say that we're all actually looking for. I really don't know what I'm looking for. Treasure to some people might be a piece of lead. Some people might be a piece of brass, you know, a colonial object like you were just talking about. It can be anything.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say a lot of times, you know, you're right. We're all out there looking for, you know, treasure, as we call it. But none of us really know what it is until we find it. That's the fun of it.
Treasure, history. I think, I like to believe that I think the ones, you know, us crazy people that call us detectorists, I like to feel that we like going out there, and every time we get that signal, you know, we just don't know what the hell it is. And I'm telling you, talk about being surprised every day. You know, it's you can have Christmas every day, and I wouldn't be just as surprised if I went out and metal detected, because I get a bigger kick out of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey,
Everybody likes presents or gifts. Each target's like opening a package.
I just
right,
recently...
and it's either, and you know, if it's not what you may think it might be, just because of your research or where you are, a lot of the things that you find is intel. So, I mean, it's all information.
Not to mention the fact that sometimes you get, Leighton and I have talked about this before too, what the double whammy, where, you know, you get that target, and you think, oh, hey, that's cool, you know, whatever, and you get home and start to looking at it closer.
Oh, yeah.
And you realize it's better than what you originally thought, or had a little more significance maybe than you originally thought. So then you kind of, it's treasure and then treasure again, an added bonus.
Double treasure, absolutely. I call that double treasure.
There's always a story. I mean, it's like, how many times has anyone over a big log that's probably 50 to 100 years old, or an old stone wall that's probably, you know, the same thing, 50, 100, 200 years old or older, and how many people has found coinage or a spill there?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay? But what's so funny is, you know what that person was doing, either sitting on that log
Oh, yeah.
or sitting on that wall. You know, it's so funny. You know, it's like, oh, okay, this is why the grass is over here. You know?
Nice.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just like sitting at a camp. I've told this before, but I found some railroad stakes, and I found a bunch of cool bullets. So I know that the railroad stakes there on this, it was a terrace, was a tent, and then I kept hunting, and then it was I believe it was a 1853 3-cent piece, which to me tells me that's where he was pulling those bullets at. That little old coin fell out of his pocket right there in front of his tent. He just put it all together, and that's what makes it special.
Right.
You know, I had a funny thing happen to me the other day. You know, you're talking about being surprised, Craig. While we got you on the phone, I want you to hear this one. I've been doing this, like Josh said a little bit earlier in the beginning of the show. I've been doing this 43 plus years, and I actually said out loud, and I won't use the expletive, but it was, I dug a signal that was very weak. It went away. It was a one-sided deal. You know, you hear the same old story over and over, and then it completely went away. Well, I know that on my machine, that when the signal goes away, that there's something that it's telling you to dig. You know, because, you know, it's just one of those deals. Just dig me. And I dug it, a couple of scoops down. I pulled out the diamond ring that I had posted a few weeks ago. And when I pulled it out, I actually said, holy, you know, and I'll let you fill in the blank. But, you know, here I am saying this after 43 years of digging, so you never know what you're going to find. And just when you think it's all over and said and done, it never is. It's always an ongoing, I can't wait to get to that next signal.
Yeah, you find that you still get surprised every now and then.
That's right. And we got JD 88047.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up.
Right. 43 years of hunting. How many times do you learn something, you know, especially something new, and you go back to where you've been before?
Right.
Yeah. Absolutely.
We're all something for, well, I've been doing it for like 28 years, and you guys 40, 43, 42. You know, Josh, 106, 110 years. I mean, it's like, where else can you do something like that almost every day or every other day, and every day it's different?
And still get rewarded.
Yeah. Every day is an adventure.
Yep. Well, you know, we've also talked about that too, setting goals for ourselves. I mean, and my own particular case, my goal is, and it's not much, believe it or not, but I always ask myself to please find one silver every time I go out. Josh and I talked about this the other day, you know, on the side there. And, you know, one silver a day, if you go a couple hundred times a year, that's a pretty hefty set of amount of silver coinage.
Yeah, that's quite a pile.
That is a pile, and it does add up after a while. So, that's my goal. A piece of silver or sterling, a spoon, whatever it is, but that's my goal, to try to find at least one piece of sterling.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, it's. I want to back out of here. I don't want to tie up the lines, but
That's fine.
Fantastic show, Josh. A pleasure talking to you, Leighton. I really, and hopefully I'll get to see you soon.
Hey, come look me up when you get up here, buddy.
I sure will. And
Yeah,
again,
me, you, and Swansea, we'll get together.
Yeah. I mean, I'll bring the car seat. I'll bring them with me.
Okay. I would hope so. My goodness,
Yeah,
we don't
I don't want them jumping out of the car. So
we don't want him flying around in the back seat.
that's
Right.
Yeah, he's a crazy man. So, but
Crazy Swansea. Yeah, okay.
a pleasure, and have a great evening, gentlemen. Take care.
Hey, thanks
Okay,
for calling.
we'll see you. Thanks for the call. And Pinky's in the chat tonight.
Pinky.
Yes, I believe that would be Allison Walker.
Is Allison there? Allison, are you there?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's in the chat.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Awesome.
Yeah, Beer Barrel just popped in there. Well, I just saw him anyway, and Digging Freedom's in.
Right.
So that's nice.
Hey, Josh, maybe this is a good time to give away one of those hats, buddy.
That's entirely up to you.
Yeah, go ahead. Have at it, man.
What do we want to do? Take the next caller, or like we said before, maybe our number that we mentioned earlier?
Sure, let's do the number.
Okay, well, we're looking for a certain number of callers, so we'll go ahead and keep rolling with this, and when we hit that specific caller number, we will let them know.
Awesome.
So if you've got a question, something to add, call in, let us know. 419-549-5744. And let's see here. Oh, hey. Swansea, how is it going, sir?
Hey, it's going well, Josh. How you doing, buddy?
All right.
I don't care about winning a hat. I just wanted to say, hey, Leighton, it's great to actually hear you on there at Swansea Searcher.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Thank you very much for calling in. I appreciate it. It's good to hear your voice again.
Yeah, it's actually been a long time. I just have a quick question for you myself.
Sure,
I
go
see you do a
ahead.
lot of beach hunting, and you like you said, after a storm, stuff like that, things change.
Yeah.
What is the percentage of the amount of time that you beach hunt as opposed to what I do mostly is field hunting?
Well, okay, that's a really good
That is
question.
a good question.
Yeah, a lot of people ask me that. I have kind of almost converted, pretty much 100% of the time I will do my beach hunting. But let me throw this in there. It's always in the winter time. I hardly ever do any beach hunting in the summer, only because the conditions are just not favorable for us up here, as you know. Prevailing wind, southwest. It really gets sanded in on the East Coast. So, of course, we always pray. Well, I don't want to say pray, but we hope for a good nor'easter. Let's put it that way. I don't want to make it sound like, we're praying for destruction. But
We don't
some
wish ill
sand-
on people's properties, but if it comes through, we'll utilize that advantage.
Absolutely. And, but I will tell you this. I used to be a sole land hunter. I grew up doing that, but I also grew up on the beach. So I learned my machine on the beach, even though it wasn't a beach machine. So I learned real early, back in the 70s, when I was just a young boy, that I learned how to read a beach very well. I started noticing after a rainstorm, we were starting to get washouts or gullies. I was finding more sterling and coins and silver coins, $50. Of course, these places were virgin back then. So, I'd go where there were old pavilions. I'd wait for a slope or, like I said, a big rainstorm or extra high tide. I noticed that I was really learning. After a while, when I was running out of targets, get this, I used to actually get down on my hands and knees and look for valleys on the beaches and see where the low areas were. And that's where I would put my main focus for the day. And more likely than not, I'd always come out with something.
Now, after the hellish winter we had this year, did you have a really productive start to the season?
I've done very well, just did everything. I've been kind of low-key a little bit this year. But I did post, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, I had 8 rings. And
I saw that.
Yeah, when I say 8 rings now, and it's not gloating, but that's what I found. I found those on 3 particular different days, all in the same area, and many guys had hunted that particular rock pile. So they're leaving some stuff behind. So it depends on, your machine, how good you know it, and how slow you want to work it and dig all those iffy signals. Majority of those rings over the 3-day period on the 3 different tides were just about signals that I know probably people walked by. I know they did.
Right.
Take it all, baby.
That's right.
Take it all. That's right.
All right.
Even if
Well, we'll drop here and let you guys get the rest of your callers. But Leighton, we'll definitely have to get together. But I'm going to invite you up to some of my places that I did in Massachusetts as well. But they're going to be farm fields, so I'm not doing the beach thing.
All right. Thanks for your call, Swans.
I'll take you up on that. Definitely look me up, man. Thanks for the call.
One.
And we had Chris Engel in there, but he lost connection or something. The next caller in line, who is actually number 3, 419, you're on the air. Who do we have?
Hey, Josh, this is Digging Freedom.
Digging Freedom. What's up, buddy?
Hey, how you doing? Great show as always. Hiya, Brother Kenny.
Hanging in there and waiting to hunt.
There you go. I have a quick question, just because I'm just beginning to do some water hunting. And Josh, you know my situation. I'm kind of in inland lakes here.
Right.
So I've been hitting where I've been watching, from fishing these lakes where everyone party and that kind of stuff. So I've been hitting sandbars, and I had some pretty good success the first time I went out. So I guess my advice or my question would be, what would he suggest for people that are kind of landlocked, that can't get to big beaches, things like that? Would you suggest nowadays doing the homeowners associations that have private beaches, that sort of thing? Because I think that's kind of an untapped source too.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Look, this is the first thing I would do. I do a little more research, like you just kind of mentioned. But here's a tip for you. Write this down if you got a pencil and a paper. It's called Card Cow. This is a site that I use personally. I've broadcasted this before. I can't tell you how many places that I've actually found while looking in my own hometown for old watering holes. I'm not landlocked like you are, but I'll tell you, if you put in anything like, old railroad, stagecoach areas, it's called cardcow.com. And what that does is it brings up old pictures, believe it or not, old postcard pictures of the old swimming holes in your area. You can put in your own, it's pretty user-friendly, and you can put in your own information. And listen, you're only limited by your own imagination. So what I'm basically saying is try to find these places that used to be old swimming holes, that had rafts that are no longer there, or places that are freshwater like yourself, where you can't get to, or that you don't even know used to exist. Josh and I are actually researching a couple right now that we're really thinking about possibly getting together someday and going to hit these places, because they're certainly so far inland that I'm sure that they've never been hit. And people did want to go off a swing rope all the time, and they lose just as much jewelry as people in saltwater. So yeah, that's what I would do first of all. I download that and use that as my tool, and then go from there. It's always good to get in touch with your local historian. You'd be surprised when you just start, talking. Most of the time before the end of the conversation is done, you'll hear them say, "Oh, by the way, I live in a house that's built in the 1700s," and that's your key right there. Has it ever been done, and are you willing to let me do it?
Right.
Sounds great. That's great advice, and I appreciate that, because like I said, I'm just starting to get into it. So
yeah. Yeah, I'll tell you, it's a lot of work. I'm not going to kid you. It really is a lot of work, especially when you're out up to your neck, You got 2 and 3 foot seas. You know, you can't turn your back on the waves because it'll swamp you. It's not a fun thing. Then you start throwing other elements, you know, in there with snow, wind, rain. You know, 30-degree water. Yeah, it's tough work, but we do get rewarded. It's a lot of work to learn it, but you know, in freshwater it'd be a little different. Your buoyancy isn't quite as bad there, but you still got to be careful if you're using waders. You wouldn't want something like that to fill up. That's for sure.
Yeah, you don't want to get flooded.
For sure.
Yeah, be careful.
For sure.
Thank
you so much,
it's
sir.
just like anything else. You have to make sure to be aware of your surroundings.
That was a great question, by the way. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You guys have a great night, and the show's going great.
Thanks for the call.
All right.
And
Bye
it looks like we've got Chris Engel back in.
Hello
Must be having
there.
a little bit of a glitch with the phone lines or something. I saw another call
Yeah.
that fell off, too.
Yeah, the cell phone kind of glitched in and out. Hello, Brother Kenny.
How you doing, buddy?
Pretty good, brother. You doing okay tonight, Josh?
Oh, as well as can.
Yeah.
I guess, you know, I may not be quite finer than frog hair, but I'm fair to middling.
Yeah. Leighton, you were mentioning about the beaches, you know, the low spots along the shore. Well, down here at Galveston, you know, that is a good point because you will find a lot of stuff there. But down here in Galveston, of course, the Gulf of Mexico, we're so shallow. I mean, you can walk out 200-300 yards and, you know, you come across sandbars. But I found on those beaches like that, you can find a spot if you're in the water and you find a depression right there, a little small depression, hit it because that's where a lot of stuff will congregate right in there. Rains, all sorts of stuff like that.
That's right. That's right, Chris. Yeah, well, you know, I was referring to up on the beaches when I was a young boy to the other caller, and yes, you're right. We do the same thing out here, too. We will find depressions, and when we find the depressions up here in New England, there's rocks usually in them depressions. So, you know, you might be walking straight out, you might be up to your waist, the next thing you know, just 2 feet further, now you're up to your neck. So it does make a big difference, and that 2 feet, that's where the gold is, buddy.
Yep, that is so true. That is so true. I found that maybe getting out waist deep in the water here at Galveston, and you'll find those little depressions here and there, and that's where you're going to find the rings and stuff like that. That's what you're into hunting, and I find it out like that, especially when it's hot like this down here. You got to go somewhere you can stay a little bit cool, but of course, getting in the water here at Galveston, it's like taking a warm bath, so it's a little relief, but...
Yeah, well, see, we don't have to worry about warm water. We got to worry about sharks.
Right.
Well, they're here too. They're here too.
Yeah, I guess they got to eat too.
Question, Mr. Homefinder's in the chat, and he would like reach you to the website that was mentioned.
Card Cow.
Card Cow, yes, Card Cow. www.cardcow. It's a great information, you know, tool that I've always used. I've been using it for about maybe 5 or 6 years. And it's only as limited as your imagination. It really is. I mean, you can put in anything from old roller coaster places to carnivals to circuses in a particular town. It'll come right back whether there's one there available for you or not. And what's really great is they'll give you, let's just say a little preview. Yeah, and it'll show you what it used to look like back in the day, which is the main key. I can't tell you how many places I've gone to that were old swimming beaches that when I started, I didn't realize there was actually a raft or two that were there. And lo and behold, the further I'd walk out on a real low moon tide, like we have coming up this weekend, so you won't hear from me, Josh.
Right.
Yeah, you know, I'll be out there trying to get out as far as I can where the old swimming rafts used to be.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, it is a valuable resource, the sites like that, for sure.
You know, not only that, but, you know, I can remember as a child, I remember, you know, talking with people, too, or a young man talking with people. Try to remember some of your older friends as you were growing up. And, you know, those are great places to start trying to find treasure. You know, it's always a great place to start in your backyard, but you there's so much stuff in other people's yards. And, you know, it doesn't hurt to have a spare detector and always invite them. You'd be surprised how much more permission you'll gain by asking a landowner or a friend saying, hey, I've got an extra detector in the car. Would you like to join in with me? Maybe we can both find something.
Right.
You know,
and a lot of time, because curiosity is it's in the human nature.
Right.
And when they get an offer like that, they're automatically curious. I wonder if I could find something. What could I find?
Right. You know, it might take a little bit extra time, you know, out of your day to actually dig because you're trying to show them how to do something. It's not really, you're not there to, you know, give them a lesson, but, you know, you might get that return visit. Hey, do you mind later on tomorrow or next week? Can I come back when I got a little more time and, you know, finish up the area? And, you know, that person may not be able to do it with you that particular day, and you'll be able to do what you, you know, started out to do. So it's always great to try to remember some of those older folks.
Absolutely.
Kenny, do you do the same thing down in your part of the country? Is he still with us?
I thought he was.
Yeah, I was just saying, do you have to knock on doors down there like we do up here in New England, or is it because you have so much land down there that you know, you have to secure just one area where,
well,
you know,
it's anywhere. If there's a property owner's name on it, you need to get the permission. So
yep.
I knocked on doors. You know, a lot of people overthink it down here. You know, I just go up and say, hey, you know what? I got some research here, then this is what I think's on it. It'd be very interesting to check it out. I'll leave it like I find it. You can have what you want of it, and it's all about preserving the history for me. And believe it, people want to know what's on the property if you approach them correct.
Absolutely, they're curious.
And a savage land mover, no, probably not. But if you go in there and present yourself, well, it's usually not a problem. Yeah, you do knock on the doors here, but the best place, you know, let's say Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, and even Texas, is go to the barbershop. Well, I learned so much stuff at the barbershop. Mm-hmm. I get more permissions when I go to the barbershop. That Mr. Lambert up here, my barber, says, did I just touch you yesterday? Well, yeah, but
you get your hair cut a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, knock on the doors and you get the permission.
Yeah, that's awesome. See, up here, it's pretty much the same thing here, but we have so much competition up here in New England. It's not uncommon to go to our local beach, especially like this weekend coming up, Kenny. We have a minus tide, and so Saturday and Sunday, I can guarantee you there's going to be at least 20 people out there in the water with me, alongside of me. So it almost becomes territorial, if I could say.
And speaking of tides and beaches, we're joined by another caller, and I do believe that was one of the numbers we were looking for, but let's see what they've got to say. Go ahead, caller. Looks like they're coming in from Florida.
Jim Fielding, how are you doing?
How are you, sir?
Hey, Josh, Jim Fielding, how are you?
All right.
Mr. Jim, how you doing?
Well, hey, Kenny. Yeah, the SQ engineer is boiling up down here in Central Florida, but we're doing the best we can. You know, that's funny that you were talking about all the competition you guys have up north there. You know, I live not too far from Cocoa Beach, and my wife and I went out there this morning about 8 o'clock to do some hunting. And there's low tides at 10 o'clock, and there's we have about 15 people out there. That's a lot of people.
It is a lot of people, Jim.
Yeah, and you know, it's not too bad. Half of them are waving their coils about 1.5 feet above the ground, so you know they just stopped at their local Dick's Sporting Goods and bought something, and they don't really understand how to use it. But
that's always nice to see, in a sense, though. Those are the ones you want to follow.
I'm glad you said it.
Yeah, those are the ones you want to follow. Yeah, just for a joke. But we also have a big problem. Well, I guess it's not a problem, but along the treasure beaches, you know, we have the treasure beaches down by Sebastian Inlet where the 1715 fleet crashed ashore 300 years ago. And we used to find a lot of lot of 8 real coins down there back in the 1980s. I mean, you could pick them up without using a metal detector. And now they've resanded the beach every couple of months. They resand the beach, so now that's under 8 feet of sand. You're never going to get near those unless we have a really good hurricane. Well, it looks like we got one coming this way. Everybody's got their fingers crossed. But I was going to say, another good spot, when you think of treasure, you know, everybody thinks of gold. And gold is not always, you know, I mean, it's not always accessible, and it's very competitive, as everybody's been talking about. We used to scuba dive a lot of our freshwater lakes. On one of our dives, we found 140 Orlando Sentinel. You know the machines that you buy a newspaper in, you put a quarter in, pull it. Well, maybe it's not a quarter anymore, but you open and pull a newspaper out. If you've ever noticed on the sides of those things, it says $50 reward for the return. So on one lake, we found somebody had stolen a bunch of them, thrown them in the lake. And we got 140 of them. Yeah, we got 140 of them. They were painted bright yellow. It was like in about 20 feet of water. Pulled them all out, sold them, got a check for $7,000 after we brought them back to Orlando Sentinel. Yeah, and we found a couple of Firebirds down there, towed them out. They're worth a couple thousand in scrap. So you never know. It doesn't always have to be gold. You can make a chunk of money on just,
Exactly. That's what we were talking about earlier, Jim. You know, gold, it could be lead. Whatever it is, there's different treasure to everybody. Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great example. $50 reward. Yeah. And they had how many down there?
140.
Oh, my God.
That came out to $7,000.
Oh, my goodness.
Which I can always use a good $7,000 on a Friday or a Thursday. But we also found over on the west coast of Florida, down near Fort Myers, actually it was Estero, we found in the mangroves, and we were out there wandering in the mangroves because we were always looking for pirate treasure. We've never found any, but we tripped over a keel from an old sailing ship, a big lead keel. This thing was, you know, the older ships were they had a lead keel running right up the center of the ship, so they didn't need ballast. You know, that thing would keep itself straight. And that thing, we sold that thing for like about $2,000 or $3,000. That piece of lead, pulled it out of there. Yeah, you're right. It's stuff's all over the place. I mean, lead especially.
Yeah, 50 cents a pound for lead. I always save my sinkers. I come out with 4 or 5 pounds almost every time, and you know, at the end of the year, that pays for my whole trip going down to Florida once a year, or wherever I end up, Canada or wherever. So yeah, that's a great little story. Yeah, and I can imagine
the sinkers are. Yeah, the sinkers especially, because we found here that the density of a standard sinker is the same as a gold class ring. So when we start running into sinkers, you know, about, you know, your moderate size, a couple ounces, you know, a lot of times we'll find class rings along the same line where they launch up ashore. So, you know, that's one of the little things we picked up over the years. Like, you're digging lead, keep going, you got a class ring in there somewhere.
That's right.
So,
yeah,
it's been nice talking to you guys. It's a real interesting show, Josh, as usual. But I got to go over to the grocery store and get something before it closes. I think I'm all out of beer, and I can't let that happen.
Right.
Yeah,
Jim,
I got to get going.
Jim, one more quick question for you, buddy.
Yeah.
How long ago did you find some pieces of 8 down there? I remember my uncle living down that way at the time, and he was in on that little bit of pirate booty that you're talking about over in Sebastian area and La Beso. And I guess, you know, he was finding them on top, too. I think back in 83 and 4, you guys had significant hurricanes, and I think he ended up with like 36 pieces of them.
I think I found maybe 3 or 4 of them. The last time was in 1984, and they were in pretty good shape. But yes. I don't know if you've been reading the newspapers or the news about the Treasure Coast here. We got a guy sitting offshore, about 50 feet offshore, with a boat, and he's pulling up gold escudos like somebody spilled a shoebox of them. Man.
Brent has been,
Oh, yeah, we're all standing on shore with our mouth open going, oh, man, because you can't go in the water. You cannot go in the water down around there because Mel Fisher's crew's got a lease on it for 99 years, and the 99 years isn't up yet, unfortunately.
Yeah,
But you get caught in the water. You get caught in the water with a metal detector down here around the treasure beaches. It's going to be pulled, and you're going to get fined and lose your equipment. So, got to be careful about it.
Right. Well, hey, listen, we appreciate you calling in, and thanks for the information.
Okay. Well, it's a great show. Keep it all up.
And I do believe that Jim was he fell into that random caller number there, Leighton.
Okay, there you go. So he gets himself. Yes, sir. He gets himself.
Yeah, usually you call me SQ engineer. You were calling me random caller, which I'm not used to, but I can handle it. With a little bit of counseling, I'll be fine. Okay.
Well, PM me your address, and we'll try to get that out to you. If I remember right, you still run MineLab, correct?
Yeah, I run a MineLab E-Track. I also run a MineLab Excalibur 1000, and it's getting old. My wife runs a 250 and an AT Pro, and the dog doesn't have one, but it's been wanting one. I don't know what I'm going to get for the dog. Sees us out medley. I'm just kidding
maybe
about that.
It would work out better for him to send him a MineLab hat.
There you go. That's what
get him a, yeah. Well, we were you guys. We were at the Kellyco event. You know Kellyco down here. They're like the treasure warehouse. We were at that event a couple weeks ago, where they had the guys from the National Geographic series. You know, the Diggers guys.
Mm-hmm.
And we had the family that's digging up the gold coins. They've got all the gold coins laying out there. It was just, could bring tears to your eyes going in there.
Right.
So, but anyway, it was a really great event. But everybody had a real good time. But it's only 20 minutes from me, and a lot of people had to fly from up your way, Cincinnati. A couple of guys came down here. I think it was the Hoover boys came down.
Maryland.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they're in Maryland?
They came in from Maryland.
I thought they were up your way. I thought they lived down the street from you, Josh. I guess not. Oh, well. I'll have to make some notes and change that, obviously.
Right.
Okay.
That could be good for me that they don't live down the street. More for me to find.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, they came down here with a buddy of mine. I don't know. We had a show a long time ago where Gary Dover, he went out with Gary, who you don't want to go around with Gary if you don't want to be in tears by the end of the hunt.
Oh, I remember seeing him in their video.
Yeah, did you see that? He went into a sewer pipe, dug in the middle of a sewer pipe that was placed up and down in the garbage, came up with something like a 1907 Barber quarter or something.
Yeah.
Just, you'd never expect Gary. He can make that AT Pro sing. I've never seen a guy like that with an AT Pro. He just knows that thing. I don't know. Underwater with one hand tied behind his back and the lights off, he'd still be finding, 19th century coins. You can't stop it, man. Everywhere.
Right.
So, all right. Well, you guys take care, and thanks for taking my call, my random caller call. And
right.
I'll be listening here. After I get my beer, I'll be back.
Go ahead and PM me your address, and we'll get that out to you.
Thanks, Jim.
All right, I'll do that.
All right.
Take care.
We'll see you.
Adios.
Awesome. Yeah, so it goes to show you, Josh, you just never know what is treasure to someone. Like we said earlier in the show, I mean, it's very interesting to hear what people do, and it seems that everybody does the same thing, even if it's in different parts of the country. Everybody saves their lead. Look at what Jim was doing. I mean, like he said, $50 reward on each side of it. That's very interesting. That's I'm sure it took him quite some time to get that many out of the water, but boy, what a payday.
Right. I mean, man, I certainly wouldn't turn that down.
No, Kenny, I don't know about you, buddy, but I'd be putting a hook and chain on them things and dragging them out quick.
Right.
Absolutely.
You can't beat that. That would certainly be a nice little payday.
Exactly.
Think of the trip that would help pay for.
Man.
Yeah, I know it.
Man. Leighton's liable to go, well, this year maybe I'll just go ahead and go to Europe.
Yeah, boy, wouldn't that be great? I've always kind of wanted to go over that way. I'm not even sure of the laws over there, so you know what? I'd be a little on the lost side. But
yeah, me too.
I
don't think you have to give. I don't think you can bring it back with you. Maybe a couple of things if they approve it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, if you're preserving it, if you're about the history, then
Right.
digging it is your reward to begin with. But if it's worth $1 million, I'd like to know it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, this falls into that category that we were talking about right at the beginning of the show before I lost power there. Treasure isn't always over in Europe or across the street. It's right here. It's right here. I guarantee it, So we don't always have to go far. It's nice to go on trips, and go to Florida and play down in the sand. Like he said, they got 8 feet of, they call it replenishment. I call it repunishment sand.
Right.
But, those poor people, same thing in New Jersey. They're constantly getting, tractor-trailer loads of sand put back on their beach because of, the tourists, because without a beach, they can't lay out and they can't spend their money, which I totally understand that end of it. But on the other hand, this is a whole other topic. I don't want to go too far off of where the treasure is, but just real quickly, they're putting new sand on the beach, but where does that sand go? Right back out in the water, and now who's killing the reefs?
Right.
That sand is suffocating those brand new reefs, So, I don't know about that replenishment stuff. That's why I kind of nicknamed it over the past 5-10 years, repunishment. So, it is what it is, but I guess it's working for them, so whatever.
And that is a good term for it. That's catchy. Yeah. I like that.
It is. It's really, it's a repunishment. I mean, I don't know about you, but when I'm swinging, I want to find something. I don't want to be worrying about, I tell you, I've told this to many people, they ask me, how do you read the beach? One of my first things I do when I get down there, other than a visual, first thing I do, if it's mushy sand, I walk till I can get to some hard sand. If it's mushy, that means everything's out of sight, buddy. Out of sight. So I just keep walking until I find some hard land. Once I find that hard mud or, or stagnant area where it hasn't been moved too much, that's where I'm planning.
Yeah, because if it's all mushy, chances are good you're going to be finding recent drops. You were saying, Kenny?
Well, part of the, what is treasure? The thing about me is, and a lot of you, treasure is just, the item that you're finding, the history, I call it, that you're finding, is only part of it. It's the story. If you can put the story with it, especially if you're making videos or whatever, and you get the facts to the best of your knowledge, and you tell about what you had just found, that makes the treasure more treasurable, I guess you could say. I mean, it's just, you can find something, but if you don't know, if you cannot connect it to what has happened, then a lot of people, want to chunk it to the side, and that's a shame. If you're a hobbyist like we are, all of us do our own kind of research. It's important that we know what we're digging so we can tell the story about it. And that's what makes it complete for me.
Right. It doesn't just end by just finding it. Absolutely. I agree 100%. In fact, sometimes I spend more time after I find an object, putting my time into it, trying to find out what it is or maybe where it came from or who it might belong to, referring to rings and stuff like that. I put more time in looking after I've found the object into it than I did prior to trying to find it.
Right. The story behind the find.
Exactly. And there's always more than one story, too. It's there's a story of how it was maybe given to someone, then how it was lost, when it was lost, what year, what were they doing when they lost it. There's many, many stories that go along with that particular item. And then, the ultimate question is, how old is it? I mean, that's usually one of my first questions. I always look for a date on something. That's one of my little pet peeves that I have, along with trying to find that one silver item every time I'm out. I always like to find something that's dated.
Right, the date does make it nice, but even at that, if you can at least find some sort of identifying detail on it to maybe narrow it down to a certain period of time, a certain time frame or era.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's always fun to, when it comes together, I mean, I've found class rings that, people have passed away or, unreturnable. Sometimes we'll call the school. You don't get a return call sometimes for a year. And then you see it, And and so when you do finally get a call with a little lead, sometimes it peters out and goes away. Sometimes it leads to the owner. So it's always great.
That's a good point. That's a very good point.
Here's another thing, too, I just wanted to hit on before. I know it's getting close to the end of the show, but I wanted to just reiterate on that double treasure that you were talking about earlier. Here's a good one for you. That happened to me not so long ago. It was actually what I thought was a piece of lead. I had been digging a lot of small bullets that day out in the surf, and they were falling through my sand scoop. So what I did was, I took the extra long few minutes to get out of the water, go up and get my sifter, bring that back out into the water, so that way I wasn't losing all these small items. Well, it paid off, because one of those small items, when I got home and cleaned it off, turned out to be a Spanish cob. One of my first ones I've ever found, and I actually threw it in my trash pouch. I thought it was a piece of lead until I got home and washed it off in the water under the sink outside. And so when I came in and opened up the cloth, because I usually put it in a cloth, and then I use that as kind of like the sifter, and then I'll wash stuff off, and then I'll bring it in and put it on another dryer cloth. I started spreading out the coins and the jewelry that I had. I noticed a cross on this little piece of what I thought was lead that turned out to be...
It just kind of catches your attention, so to speak.
Yeah, it was a 1715 cob, Spanish cob. It was one of the first ones I've ever found on that particular beach. So it goes to show you the Spanish were up there too.
Yeah, you just never know. And along the lines of, treasure like that, where it's found right where you are. I talked to a hunter a couple of weeks ago, and he was telling me he's been, all over the States hunting. He's been over to England, stuff like that. So you would... it's very easy to jump to the conclusion that his oldest find was found in England.
Mm-hmm.
And that wasn't the case. Actually, his oldest find came from right here in the States, New England area, and it was actually, if I remember right, some form of Greek coin. That he figures maybe the original settler there or something, because he was in a colonial area. Mm-hmm. Maybe they were a coin collector, and maybe somebody's kid got into Dad's coin collection, lost it in the yard, or something like that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you never know what you can find. That is very impressive to find something that old here. I mean, I've never heard of that, actually, not in the States, but you never know what you're going to find, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm sure with your cob, that was probably the last thing you were expecting to find on the beach that day.
Well, like I said, I threw that. Yeah, I had no idea. I mean, that's kind of a double treasure. I thought it was, maybe because I do collect all the bullets too, and all these pieces of lead. It's a good thing I didn't throw it in the junk pile. It was a double treasure, as far as I'm concerned. I thought it was just another bullet, but I got home and I started spreading it out. So it was a beautiful cob. Actually, it's not very big.
And it just goes to show, always double check your finds.
Yep, that's right. Yeah. Double check the holes too.
That's right.
Oh, all the time. I can't tell you how many buttons I pulled out of holes and bullets also that I've been pulled. The thing of it is, a lot of folks, they get towards the end of the day, they've been digging 7 hours or whatever, and they're like, they want to find that one more deal, and then you just don't work for it as hard. You got to know when to quit and when to go, and know your limitations, or you could leave some stuff behind.
Right.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I hate it when I leave stuff behind, by the way, Kenny. I hate that. I hate when that happens. I try not to let that happen too much.
It's always the not knowing that gets you. It's like, oh, I know I had to have missed something. What did I miss?
I know. Well, that makes us want to keep going back, right?
Yeah, it helps. It helps keep that drive and determination there.
Yeah,
that's why I like going to the places everybody says hunted out. Man, I'm the first one there.
That's right. No such animal.
That's right. I love hunting those spots like that, because if you get in there, it may take a while. But as long as you're patient, you're working in there amongst the trash or in that area that everybody says there's nothing left, and if you just hunker down, a lot of times you're rewarded for your effort.
Or how about this one?
Right. I did the video with the 17 by 15 nail coil for the AT Pro. This place has been pounded. If you watch the video, it's a pretty good video. I was trying to make a point in it. Yeah, I went through there and finding Maynard bullets at 14, 15 inches deep. And I was actually pointing out the holes around. I mean, there were holes everywhere. And,
right.
It's just amazing. You gotta stop and listen. You know, keep your eye out that number. You know, I'm a tone guy, so you just gotta, you know, I double check them. There's nothing wrong with looking at, but I mean, you just gotta listen. Slow down a little bit.
Yeah, I'm also a tone guy too, Kenny. You know, that's the first thing I do is I listen for the tone. Once I get the tone down, then you know, I'll definitely I'll look at the numbers, but to me it doesn't make a difference. But then my second thing is depth. You know, and then I'll look at the numbers. So tone, depth, then you know, I'd go from for the depth end of it. That's that. If it's more than 6 or 7 inches, I'm on my knees pretty quick.
Right.
You know what? If you get one of the bigger nail coils, or you got, you know, especially a TI, you got to slow it down because it takes them a little longer to get down to that target. You know, you're swinging a 5x8 coil, you're zipping around there or whatever. But even with them, you need to, you know, slow down. But the bigger that coil, you just gotta slow down and listen.
Right. Yeah, you got to give that. You know, that's a good point. You got to give that that processor a chance for it to do its thing. You know, it's got a little bit of a ride between going from the coil down to the object, coming back up, and then, you know, going to the receiver end of the processor to let you know whether or not to dig. So that's a good point.
Not to mention, with them larger coils, you need to slow down a little bit anyway, because you're covering. You're putting a larger footprint on the ground, so you got to give everything time to kind of absorb, so to speak. Let the processor see it all.
Yep, absolutely. So I guess the biggest question of tonight is, so where is treasure, right? Treasure is where you find it. That's where it is. That's the main thing. I hope that we didn't, you know, prematurely give it away. Obviously, that's where it's at. It's where you find it. It's under your coil. It's never over across the street in that other field that looks so luscious and great and all nice and manicured. It's right where you are all the time. It's always under your foot.
And, you know, keep looking where you are, and you'll find it. If that other field looks good, well, those finds will be there for you the next day.
There you go.
Yeah, and you know what? Layer it, because every 50 years, every 100 years, I mean, you have a layer of stuff. You know, your clad is going to be above your silver. Your silver is going to be, most of it anyway, above your relics. And you just got to layer it.
Right.
Keep on going.
Right. Well, and speaking of coils, Leighton had a little bit of a hiccup with a coil there recently. He had to try to find himself one, and he got some friends to hook him up there, I believe, if I remember right.
Yeah, so we'll give out a nice, great, big thank you to Radio World up there, Jack Summers, the owner up there, up in Toronto, and he hooked me up really quickly, and so we want to say thanks again for all their great staff work and get me one real quick.
Yeah, that was certainly great that he was able to help you out.
Yes, sir.
Nothing like customer service, man. Somebody that wants to help.
You know what?
Exactly.
They were all over it, and I really did appreciate that. So, yep, Radio World, if you need anything, folks, that's the place to go, right there.
And there you go. Well, we're getting about to the end of our rope here, I do believe. Because I know Detect America's waiting in the wings with WNL, so it's another double shot for the listeners.
Guys are rolling.
Right. So, for everybody that tuned in, we appreciate you dropping by, tuning in. If you enjoyed the show, by all means, like, rate the channel, throw us some stars, you know the drill. Other than that, Leighton, always a pleasure. Kenny, good to see you back.
Dig it all.
Hang in there with me, guys, and obviously we'll be back next week. Next Wednesday without the Wednesday night curse, hopefully.
Yeah.
Until then, folks, keep the coil to the soil. May all your finds be good ones. We'll see you next week.
Peace out.